Hello, my lovely people. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, depending on your time zone or anytime you are coming across this video. If it is your first time and you like what we are doing here, kindly subscribe, put on your notification bell to all notification. In that way, you will be able to know when we upload a video. Here we react to all forms of videos, local and international, especially what is happening in Nigeria. I want to seize this opportunity to appreciate YouTube for creating this wonderful platform that we are using today to disseminate information to the members of the public. At the same time, I put a disclaimer that here in Linda's TV show, we do not promote war, violence, misleading information, or instigating any violence. We are here to inform and educate the members of the public, and also to remind YouTube that a call for self-determination is never a call for war. Please take note of this.
The nation, the United States of Biafra. So if you're a Biafran and you're not keen into what the Prime Minister is doing, you're not doing yourself good. And do not wait until your own community is overrun by the terrorists before you wake up. Do not wait until when you hear that we have declared Biafra in December 2nd before you now say, let me go and see how far it has gone. Maybe too late for you to key into some things. To wake up now and be part and parcel of everything. That is still behind bars in the hands of the terrorists, and we will stop at nothing but to continue to make sure we demand for his unconditional release. Whatever they are saying there is not our problem. He must be released, and he will be released. The administration of the Biafran government is ongoing, and that is where we are focusing on now. So the legal team are taking charge of the legal pattern, while we are taking charge of restoring Biafra and defending motherland. So your responsibility as a Biafran is to follow Uno Road, follow the Prime Minister. Yes, I've come on a very short note, unannounced. I'm not going to stay too long because a lot are going on. I just want the entire world and the Biafran people to understand and pick a point from the video that I played to the beginning of this program. You can see that there has been environmental genocide. There has been the blockade of our resources and money and our innovations and developments and inclusiveness in governance of the end of the Biafran people. We've been emasculated in many ways, and we've been on the rough edge because we've always wanted one Nigeria to work for everyone. But as it stands now, enough is enough. Our good no go kill us, and we cannot allow our good to kill us even in this 2024 and this 21st century. Yes, we are not going to work for others to enjoy and to gain again. We are not going to work to the interest of others again, while we continue to pay the price and continue to bear the brunt of one Nigeria. Whereby, at the end of the day, the same people that we are working to see that they are salvaged, they will come back mocking at us, and we are the ones dying while they continue to enjoy their lives. No, it will not happen again. That is why in 2024, we have taken a stand. In 2023, we have taken a stand. There is a government, and we will do everything and make sure that Biafra is restored and we destroy every terrorist that coming to kill our women and children. I plead all Biafrans to key in. Now, the blockade that you have seen on checkpoints has been a way of extorting you financially. After you have toiled and suffered to get something just to eat, the Nigerian government don't provide anything for you. The electricity, they have not given you for you to even be able to become something with what you have in your brain. You are the one that will need to buy generator. Water, they cannot put water line in your house, whereby at the end of the day, you go and pay just a teller bill of how it is done in other civilized countries. But you are the one that need to go and dig your borehole. You are the one that need to go and pipe your house and then see a way of getting water, clean water, so that you can drink. The schools that you go, are not subsidized for you. You have no grant. In other countries, the resources where the government extracts the revenues are used to the satisfaction of the citizens. You are the one toiling and making sure you survive on your own, whichever way that you can. The way and manner you survive, nobody wants to know. Now, when you look at Kenya, Kenya has a minimum wage of $117 or thereabout, while Nigeria minimum wage is not up to $30. Nigeria minimum wage is not up to $25. But Kenya minimum wage is $117. Do you understand the point? Now, Kenya is not 1/3 as rich as Nigeria is. With all the oils and gas and every exploitation camp that they have in Nigeria, that they exploit everything and excavate everything and then they go and refine it and make the money, Kenya is not 1/3 or 3/3 of what Nigeria is when it comes to the natural resources that is embedded there, when it comes to the money that is circled out of that country on daily basis. But you see that in Kenya, their minimum wage is $117 going upward. Whereas in Nigeria, your minimum wage is not up to $25. Now, the Biafran people in these oil communities, not just the oil communities, every part of Biafra land, because the fish that has been killed in this oil and gas polluted and exploitation camp in one part of Biafra land is the same water that encompasses everything that goes to the other side. So when you hear Biafra land, the water or the ocean or the sea that or the stream or the lake that you see this water where the fish here is polluted and destroyed and killed, it is the same water that is linked to Oron. Now we are talking of River State. It is the same water that is linked to Delta State. It is the same water that is linked to Bayelsa. It is the same water that is linked to Enugu. It is the same water that is linked to Anambra. The same water is linked to Abia. The same water is linked to Calabar. The same water is linked to every part of Biafra land. So when one part of Biafra land waterways is contaminated, the rivers goes down to the other side and so there is nothing different. And if somebody says, oh, one part of Biafra land is contaminated, it is not affecting the other end, you wouldn't understand. No, you will not understand. You wouldn't understand. Because the same thing that happens in Rivers community is the same thing that has affected Delta, Bayelsa, Akwa Ibom, Enugu, Imo, Abia, Anambra, Ebonyi, and Cross River. You see, the food that are raised or grown or cultivated or harvested from these areas has all been contaminated, starting from the seafood and even the plant that needs to be cultivated in this soil of these areas that has been exploited and contaminated have been destroyed. If you plant cassava stem where the soil has been contaminated, what do you think will happen to that cassava stem? And what do you think will happen to the cassava if it venture survives? How can cassava survive on a soil that has been contaminated of oil exploitation? Now, how can maize survive on a soil that has been contaminated of oil and gas exploitation? How can yam? How can beans? How can sweet yam? How can cocoyam? How can plantain? How can melon? How can banana? Now, let us now go to things like mango trees, orange trees, avocado pears, shower trees, other are trees that are in the forest, and many other trees that you see around that we grow some fruit and then we pluck them, we sell, and then we make ends meet, and we also eat. And we gain some vitamins and minerals and citric acid and protein from all these fruits and all these vegetables that we eat. So by the time all these areas and all these things has been contaminated, what becomes of our soil? What becomes of our environment? What becomes of our livelihood? What becomes of our body? The environmental genocide that one Nigeria has committed on the Biafran people spaces from 1900 to this very day is what we are talking about. And this is one of the key points and one of the reasons why every Biafran must understand that Nigeria that has polluted and exploited and contaminated your lands and everything that you have since 1900 till this very day cannot in this very 24 change their mind and then start giving you a better land or community. No. It is from this same land, from this same exploitation camp, that they have done this thing in 1966 to 70s. The money that was used to fund the genocide against the Biafran people by the Nigerian government and the USSR and American government and the British government and the Arab nations and the OAU and the Nigerian terrorists themselves, all the money that was used against us and to procure all the weapons within the genocide of 66 to 70s, all this money was taken from the proceeds of this oil and gas exploitation that was done in this camp. They did it, they got away with it, they used the same money again to procure the weapons to use it to kill our women and children. Now, they hear that Simon Ekpa, the Prime Minister of Biafra, has rekindled the fire and he has ignited it from where they did not expect. He has formed a government of Biafra and he has set up the army wing to defend the territory and to kill every python that is coming to kill our women and children and to protect motherland and for us to restore the United States of Biafra. Oh, all head let loose now. And they now wake up and they are shouting. You now hear them, they want to create new states. The new state that they created within the genocidal war, how far has the new state helped to solve any problem? The next thing you hear, they say, oh, they are going to go back into regional government. They create another regional nonsense. Inside the war of 66 to 70s, that was when new states were created. The new states were created for a reason. They said, if we see, and when we see that the eastern region wants to secede and they will not allow us to hear word, we will create core states amongst them to use it as a divide and rule and divide and conquer and divide and destroy them and create dissociation and enmity amongst them so that we can continue to conquer them. Biafran people, we are in 2024. We are not in 1966 to 70s anymore. And we cannot go back the ends of time. We have to be going forward. And the strides and efforts and the decisions that the Prime Minister is making with his government is the one that will move you to the promised land. Now, for as far as the Nigerian government suckles and exploits all the oil and gas and every resources embedded in your lands and Biafra land becomes a sacrificial zone to Nigeria economy. That is the true nature of what has been happening. Biafra land has been a sacrificial zone to revamp and to take care and to sustain the entirety of Nigeria. That is why when you look at a community like this, where oil and gas has been exploited for years, you cannot hit your chest and say that there is good life from these places. But this is the place that is giving Nigeria all the money on a daily basis. This is the place that has been giving Nigeria all the money for them to pay the salaries of the senators, the salaries of the ministers, the salaries of the governors, the salaries of every parastatal that they have in one Nigeria. The sacrificial zone to make sure the pocket and the coffers of Nigerian government is kicking and healthy and standing strong is Biafra land, is the whole eastern region of Biafra. So the way and manner the fishes in the river in these places die, the way and manner the chemicals that they put there, and then the people will still drink of that same water, and the children and babies and pregnant women drink of this same water, and then they now start having pores on their body, they now start having infections on their body. The way and manner all these exploitations are done, it doesn't really matter to the Nigerian government. What matters is that they have made this zone their sacrificial zone to be able to make all the money from one Nigeria, for Nigeria to be answering the judgment of Africa. But what happens thereof, or how the environment are taken care of, or how the inhabitants of these places are suffering and surviving and sustaining, how their crops, how their lives, how the water that they drink has been contaminated and destroyed, how the air they breathe from these areas that they are exploiting all this oil and gas destroys their lives, it doesn't matter to Nigerian government. All they got to do is to focus on the environmental genocide and then destroy their lives, then get the money back in return so that Nigeria can grow. And then when you listen to the journalists could not even use a church-given mind not to allow the word compensation to come out from her life. She used the word compensation and said that the people here should have been compensated. When you compensate people that the resources that is sustaining Nigeria for over 200 years has destroyed their life, what kind of compensation can bring back their lives? What kind of money will you give to them that will bring back the lives of the people that have been burnt to ashes, the people that their community has been taken away from them, which they no longer have good water to drink? Can the water that has been contaminated, when they compensate those people, can that water turn back to become good for them to drink? Oh, you want to compensate them and then give them money, they now go and buy imported water. Water will now be imported from America and from Cameroon and from Chad and from Niger and from Benue and from other parts of the world. Then you will be sustaining on imported water to drink, while your own water has been contaminated and you're talking of compensation. It is this ideology of slave mentality and what Britain has sowed in the minds of everyone, believing that as they have put you in this condition, you should now become a beggar. So whatever they come back to give you, you should accept it. So they will destroy your farmlands, exploit the oil and gas, pour all the oil to contaminate the lands and the water that you drink. Then you will come back begging them to just give you compensation. When they give you compensation, some of you, they will say, come and be the security. Then the water that you'll be drinking, they will bring in an aeroplane from another country. You'll be drinking, you continue drinking like that. As you are drinking, they are drilling your land, destroying it. Your children will be growing up to come and they will not have lands to inherit. They will not have their own lands to even sit to build houses. They will not have where to stay to start a life. Everybody now will now be running away from the community forever and ever, and then the terrorists want Nigeria and Britain will continue to take the lands. No. This is the mindset and the way they have made it to happen so that you take it that way. They will always use compensation to compensate your brain and your mind so that you will remain a slave forever, bending on compensation. Compensation cannot change anything. Now, this pollution that you have seen, this environmental genocide on the Biafran people, was not caused by the indigenous persons of this land, was not caused by the Biafran people. It was caused by the federal government of Nigeria. It was caused by Britain. It was caused by the companies that they imported to those places, sell off those oil wells, and then give it to them and make them ownership. Oil wells that are embedded in my own fatherland. It is now ownership of another person. They now tell me that it is another person that is in Britain that owns it. There is another person that is in Kafanchan, that is in Abuja, that is from the far north. Sultan of Sokoto is now the owner of the oil well that is in my own fatherland. How long will you allow that to continue? This is why the Biafran government has come to end this environmental genocide. One Nigeria has used different types of warfare, methods of warfare against the Biafran people. The checkpoint is one. Emasculating you from the government and inclusiveness of everything in the administrative architecture of one Nigeria is another one. You don't know anything about the security. It is the Fulani terrorists that are only the ones in charge of the security. Then they now use environmental genocide to kill you. So by the time they contaminate your land, contaminate your soil, contaminate your water, contaminate your air, so the air you will breathe from the oil exploitation and the gas, you will be dying from it. Then your lands, you cannot cultivate something and have anything. Then from the roadside, they will be using checkpoint to extort money from you. Then yet you are still going to pay tax back to them in the market. Then the same oil and gas that has been exploited and refined and brought back, you are buying it at the highest rate and price, more than countries that don't even produce or own oil and gas. Then at the end of the day, when you now look at that your life has become a misery, that you have no going out and coming in, you have no progress in life, that if you continue life like this, that you may end up as nothing, you will resort to the point of when they give you the option of come and get compensation, you will go for it as a slave. Come and do security guard and be guarding us in these oil wells that we own. You will go for it. When they now give you option of scholarship for you to go and school in America and UK and Europe and Russia and Austria, you will run for it because they have made your life useless already. They have made your communities useless. They have destroyed everything in your community. So your life is on edge. They make you vulnerable that you will now accept any offer that they bring to your table. They will now give you visa and say, come to Europe, or come to America, come to UK. That is where there are greener pastures. Come to Canada. That is where there are humongous amount of jobs. But what is producing the job in those places is your resources that has been taken out from your land, which they have decided to destroy your own land. They will not even want to refine the thing there. They are just taking out the raw materials, take it out like that, take it to another land, another country, go and refine it in that side. Then they say you should come over there and work because that is where work is. So that as you are all going there, you will not even have the hope of your own land because you say, oh, your land is useless. There's nothing good about your land. The Biafran government has come to make Biafrans understand the potential that they own and why we need to come back to restore Biafra. There is a government and you need to follow this government amicably. When you watch the video that I played, you see that ordinary white handkerchief that was dipped into the water or the sea or the sea that was running left, right, center. You saw that the color of the handkerchief that came out, it turned to mud. It turned to mud from the oil exploitation. White handkerchief. Now, do a calculation for yourself. If the handkerchief that was dipped into the water was totally contaminated of the oil exploitation contamination, how much more that water that you will be drinking, what will happen to your body? How much more the infection that will now come out from your body? Why wouldn't people have cholera? Why wouldn't people have tuberculosis? Why wouldn't people have malaria? Why wouldn't people be dying in the hospital when they have already dug graves for you in a systematic way? This is how one Nigeria has used environmental genocide to kill the Biafran people for years and for ages. And if we allow it to continue, you will not even have a tomorrow of a Biafran to speak of. That is why you need to listen to what the Prime Minister is saying and follow Uno road. Because this environmental genocide affects you from the riverine area of Biafra land down to the other side of Biafra land that is not riverine. I want you to take your mind back to the Aba women riot of 1929. Our mothers and sisters from one end of Biafra land that were not part of riverine were not able to move their goods and services, their gari and their beans and their yam that they had fried and prepared from one part of Biafra land, which is not riverine, to the other part, which is riverine. And the other ones from the riverine side could not move it all the way from Calabar, come down to Enugu, Ebonyi, Imo, Anambra, and Abia to sell, because they produce things that are needed in other side, and the other side produce things that are needed for other side to survive. So they have to move the market like this and sell and be making the money for everyone to survive. The colonial masters had played an embargo, and they played so much of taxes, which made it difficult for our mothers to be able to engage in their businesses and to interact with their fellows. Before this time, our men were all bought off with money. They had pocketed them with money. Our warrant chiefs became so warrant that they paid them off in everything. Just like you have the governors and the ministers and senators of today becoming slaves to Nigerian terrorist government. It is the same thing that the colonial masters had done then. And then it became so heightened and worst to the point that our mothers could not bear it again. They decided to explode. They embarked on Aba women riot protest, which you heard of. That is how it came to be. So you saw that the repercussion of the oil and gas exploitation in the riverine part of Biafra land, in turn, affected the Biafran women and children in the other part of Biafra land, which is not riverine, because they interwove together. They work together, the services and the goods that they produce in one end, they have to take to the other end to sell and make money and to continue to live. And when there is difficulty made and hardship has ensued, how do you think that they can survive? Just like you have this hand, you see that the inside have to wash the outside of the other one, and the outside of this one will now have to wash the inside of the other one. So when the two of them are not friends and when the two of them are not working together, how can they succeed? So do not think that what is happening in this environmental genocidal war of the Biafran people from one end is not affecting the other. It affects. Now look at something here. They have been massacring Biafran people from the Igbo lands, physically and in other ways. And then they place another pattern of massacre, another pattern of genocide to the riverine area side. What they do in the riverine area side is to make sure they use this environmental genocide to destroy the people and their belongings and their livelihoods and their crops from the other side of the riverine side. You see the kind of war that is ongoing here. They are fighting you on one end with guns and bullets and killing you, and you are dying on a daily basis. And then you decide to stand and to resist and to say, no, enough is enough. Then on the other side, they are using environmental exploitation and environmental contamination, environmental genocide to be doing it on the other end. So you see that the war has not ended since 1970. The war has been on and it is still ongoing. So it is to this end that every Biafran needs to understand that we have a duty. And that duty that we have is to make sure Biafra is restored, to support the Prime Minister with everything that he is doing so that we can get Biafra and destroy Nigeria. If we don't destroy Nigeria, Nigeria will come to destroy us. That is why every man and woman as a Biafran, you must support the Biafran government in exile, because the same environmental genocide that is committed against our brothers and sisters from the other end of Biafra is the same pattern in a different form that is being used against us in the other side of Biafra land. So there is no part of Biafra land that is not experiencing the genocide and slaughter and massacre. Everything is happening in a systematic manner. They either use the senators, the ministers, the governors, the paramount rulers, the chiefs, the police in uniforms, the army, the navies in uniforms, the Air Force in uniforms, the civil defense in uniforms, or they now use environmental genocide, just like they are doing in the riverine areas, where they exploit and then contaminate and then leave your lands destroyed. You will now be drinking from such water and you are dying. You will now be eating of such crops and you are dying. The fishes in the river will all be killed. All the seabed and all the seafoods will all be destroyed. Now, there is one thing some of you need to also understand. At times, when you are trying to dig borehole or to dig water, they put the drilling bit is going down, going down, going down, going down. All of a sudden, they say fire is coming out or gas is coming out, and then fire starts emitting. Like that one that you see there. Have you asked yourself, why is it that the fire and the gas is so rampantly coming out whenever they are drilling anything in Biafra land? Why is it not so happening in other parts of Nigeria? When the seabeds are dying, and when all these crops are dying, and all these seabeds that are dying, they have oil extract in their body. The more they are dying, they are decomposing into the earth crust. And they are going down, going down, going down, embedded in between the rocks. So when you're now drilling and drilling, you get to the point where the level of those oil and gas that has been decomposed and extracted from the seabeds and every seafood that have been destroyed are stocked between the rocks. You will now see the emission of gas and oil, and then fire will start coming out, and they will be saying, oh, how come? Why wouldn't there be so much composition of oil and gas in every part of the soil of Biafra land? When you are killing all the seabeds every day, as you are killing them, you're not taking care of the environment. You're killing them, you're not even doing anything to revamp the situation. Everything is now going back to the earth crust. Everything is going back to the earth crust, and it is stocking. That is why in one community, you may end up having like 100 oil wells in one community. And there are some other communities that you have not even discovered oil and gas yet. By the time you go and start digging, you will still get oil and gas every part of Biafra land, starting from Enugu, Imo, Anambra, Bayelsa, Ebonyi, Delta, Rivers, Akwa Ibom, and Cross River. Go to all those places. Go and start checking. You will be getting all these things that I am saying. Because the more they are contaminating our land, the more they are contaminating the water. All those dead fishes and those dead seabirds, they are going to go and decompose and to stay within the rocks. They are stocking there. The gas and the oil is stocking there. So tomorrow when you are digging, you go and hit. When you have gone to hit the level where you're not supposed to hit, the thing now will spark out from the rocks and start emitting the gas, start emitting fire. And you have the most useless set of countries so far that they cannot even know how to control the fire or to channel that fire into something else to be able to produce energy or to produce something to the country. That is how useless the country has been. Because in Biafra, we will take care of our environment. It will not become a genocide to the people. The exploitation that they are doing now will not be exploitation. It will be exploration of natural resources. And then it will be enabling environment for the youth to be able to get jobs opportunities. Because all these places that you see that all these things are happening are where the youth are supposed to get job employment. If you now set up a team of going to cope this environmental pollution now, you see that you have created a job. And thereafter, we curtail that fire and then channel it into something else to be able to become a product that will be useful to the country or to the nations or to the people. People will be employed to work there and they'll be making money on a daily basis. Everything now will now become economic based. But you see, what Nigeria is doing is that they just make Biafra land the sacrificial zone to be making the money. And then they don't give a damn about how they have exploited and destroyed and contaminated the land. I salute Biafran people. Please remember to key in by 9 p.m. Biafra time. The finance minister of the Biafran Republic government in exile and de facto and the homeland will be live and direct with his team. And the media team are hereby advised to televise from all platforms. Yes, tomorrow is the mega fundraising, and today he's going to be here with his team to create more awareness and to talk to Biafrans and to awaken their mindset so that they will understand what they need to do about their freedom and their contributions. I salute all of you. Follow who know road, because it is only the Prime Minister. De Umuchineke from here, from me. It is. Good afternoon.
At Ororo 1 oil well off the coast of Ondo State for 4 solid years. And it's in shallow waters. That water is about 7 to 8 meters deep. When the Gulf of Mexico oil blowout happened, that was in waters more than 1 kilometer deep, more than 1,000 meters deep. This is, we're talking about, is very shallow waters. And this is something that was said could be handled within 6 weeks. But now 4 years has gone by, no action, silence. They know about it, they nod at it, maybe they even look at the video or there are soldiers protecting the place, but nothing is being done. And now look at this one in the creek that just been reported. For 5 months, it's burning. It's not in the ocean. It's right in the community. And the pollution is not restricted to that community. It's going because the whole Niger Delta is connected with rivers and creeks. So the pollution that is going on there is reaching to other communities all around there.
Because pollution has no borders.
No borders whatsoever. And it affects us, even those in Abuja. Because if you're eating fish from anywhere, nobody stores fish from Okrika, from going to Lagos or going to Cameroon if it doesn't die on the way.
Yeah.
So we're not safe.
Every periwinkle you may buy, or
you know, that lady was talking about how expensive seafood is.
Yeah.
Now, it's expensive, and it's also expensive to our health because most of the creeks, the mangrove forests, they're all contaminated. You could see the picture of the spills on the creek. You see the mangrove. The roots are coated. The lower portion are coated with crude oil from the oil spill, and it makes it a very dangerous situation.
Shouldn't somebody be taking responsibility for this?
Well, that's a question. We have the National Oil Spills Detection and Response Agency, NOSRA. Right. And we know the companies whose oil wells have blown up. And in both cases, both the Ororo one oil well and this one at Ofinama, the wells are controlled by NNPC. So it's controlled by the federal government of Nigeria. And so they are responsible for this toxic thing that is allowed to go on unchecked.
And the issue of compensation has really never been discussed or acted upon over the years. I mean, it's not the first, it's not the second time you'd have this kind of situation. Shouldn't people like you be, talking in that direction? The need to compensate people in these communities because they don't have a life anymore.
Absolutely. Life expectancy in the Delta is 41 years. And so there's no life at all. You are snuffed out before you get old enough to understand what is going on. Now, we've always tried not to place the issue of compensation as in the forefront. We're asking for environmental justice, the right of the people to a safe environment. It's a basic human right to have a safe environment. The right to water is a human right. And Nigeria is a signatory to the United Nations Declaration of the Right of Water, which was signed in 2010. So we have all these issues. And in fact, in May 2023, the Bayelsa State Oil and Environment Commission issued a report on the state of environment of Bayelsa State. And the report is titled Environmental Genocide, which is very appropriate. That report shows that the average person in Bayelsa State has a share of 1.5 barrels of crude oil of pollution. So every single individual living in that state has it's like you've been battered with 1.5 barrels of crude oil. And all the water bodies are contaminated, sometimes with hydrocarbons up to 1 million times above safe limits. So how do you live in an environment like that? That's why it's time for government to conduct an environmental audit and health audit across the entire region. And in fact, maybe also in Lagos, where you have a big refinery coming on stream, and wherever oil, when it happens in Bauchi or Gombe, when they start drilling oil, the descent must happen. We need to have the health audit to know what is the situation of the health of the people. So that we know what is killing them or what is making them healthy.
Yeah, because they spoke of, strange ailments that
there are so many sicknesses connected to oil pollution, all kinds of cancers, miscarriages, health dysfunctions, all kinds of anything evil is attached to oil spills or gas flaring. And so it's not a thing to be toyed with. So what we need is, apart from the audit, we need remediation, the cleanup. We need restoration. Cleanup is not enough. You have to restore the environment so that people's lives can be restored. Replant the mangroves. And then, of course, reparation, which you mentioned. Compensation is essential because the people have lost everything and they deserve to be compensated.
And stress more on the economic and environmental impacts of this, fires and oil spills in the region. What are we looking at in concrete terms?
The way I like to sum it up is that if all the money Nigeria has ever earned from crude oil were to be used in cleaning up the Niger Delta, it may not be sufficient. Because the recklessness with which the corporations, companies are operating, you can't find it anywhere else. No other region in the world is as polluted as this region in Nigeria with hydrocarbons. There's nowhere else. And so the whole oil economy is a negative economy. If you want to check what will happen, how many lifetimes it's going to take to restore the environment, and we have to start now. Because before we know it, in the coming decades, oil will become a kind of resource that is not so much needed in the world. The world is moving. The world is transiting to renewable energies.
Absolutely.
In fact, some countries are no longer manufacturing internal combustion cars, cars with internal combustion engines. And so before you know it, and this is going to be the reality.
In another 5-10 years, that will be the reality for
and this
so
will be
many.
This will be the symmetry of abandoned equipments. Very sad.
That's a grim picture that you paint there. So how do we take this back? How do we begin the process of remediating or remediation that you talk about?
Well,
can we really get the Niger Delta back to the pristine time?
It will take more than one lifetime, but that's why we have to start now. The Ogoni cleanup is an example of how difficult it is to clean just a small part of the Delta. The Ogoni region is not the most contaminated. It's very highly contaminated, but there are other places like in Biafra where there's always an oil spill almost every day. There are some heavily contaminated areas like Ikarama communities and others. And so we need to begin now. And, you know, we need to, when the cleanup begins beyond Ogoni, we should engage the best hands. The best. It doesn't have to be, we don't have to play the politics of local content over everything. You need people who have expertise, who have the equipment and the technology to deal with this problem at the scale that we're seeing around us. If we just play, we'll make it a job for the boys, then of course we're going to, you get the money, you don't live to enjoy it.
It's even interesting you talk about training and you know, ensuring that the skilled manpower is there. But unfortunately, it's not there right now. So there's a need for Nigeria to reach out, you know, to the international community. Is that what you're saying? And I'm thinking the amnesty program, where you had training for so many, you know, repentant terrorists, for want of a better... Militants, thank you very much. That's the word I was looking for. All these repentant militants, couldn't we have, you know, plowed the 65 or so billion
Simon Ekpa is looking like a bigger threat than what IPOB represents. And when I was reading about IPOB, I'm like, these people should realize that Simon Ekpa is asking the people to celebrate Biafra heroes from 29 to the 31st. IPOB only asked for one day. That's May 30, which is the day that over the years they had celebrated the Biafran heroes. But Simon Ekpa is saying no, it has to be from the 29th to the 31st. That is a threat on its own that we have to deal with.
Hello my wonderful people, as we have finished watching this interesting video, please, I want to see your comment, your contribution, your opinion in the comment section. Like I said earlier, let us do it constructively. Tell me what you think about this video that you have just watched, and also about the platform. If you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Please remember to subscribe, put on your notification bell, share this video, and remain blessed.